Welcome to the Classic Soap Operas Podcast.
Today we're diving deep. We're opening the sealed files, you could say, on a show that really tried something different.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, blending Washington, D.C. political power plays with, well, classic daytime soap opera chaos. We're talking about Capitol.
Capitol. Okay, yeah, I remember this one. It always felt a bit different. So the name itself, Capitol, it screams power, D.C., maybe even a bit of that, primetime glamour like Dallas or Dynasty.
Exactly. That was the ambition. They wanted that sophisticated mix. But here's the thing. Despite launching with quite a bit of fanfare and a big budget, it only ran for 5 years.
Just 5. 1982 to 1987.
That's it. So our mission today for this deep dive is to really unpack that 5-year run. We're looking at, 1,293 episodes?
Plus that pilot.
Plus the interesting 1-hour pilot, yeah. We need to figure out where it hit the mark and, where it maybe went spectacularly off the rails.
Yeah, right. Because it feels like there's a core question here, structurally. Why didn't this show, trying to be the Dallas of daytime, why didn't it stick around longer, especially against the big players?
That's the puzzle. We need to look at its unique angle, how it tried to weave actual political history, like the McCarthy era, into its main conflict.
Which is pretty ambitious for a soap.
Very. And then we have to examine the twists. Some of them got, incredibly bizarre later on, pushing it away from that political realism towards something else entirely, international fantasy almost.
Yeah, that's the part I remember hearing about. But let's start with the premise, because that hook was unique, wasn't it? Unlike, say, a hospital setting or a fashion house.
Right. Capitol really lived up to its name. The action was centered on political maneuvering in D.C., bleeding into the lives of people in this fictional, wealthy suburb, Jeffersonia.
So politics wasn't just wallpaper.
Not at all. It was the engine. It was how people got revenge, how they climbed the social ladder. It was baked into the show's DNA.
Okay, so let's set the stage. Production context, the launch. We're talking the early 80s. ABC was cleaning up in daytime, right? With the younger skewing shows.
Oh, absolutely dominating. All My Children, General Hospital, they were huge, especially with younger viewers. CBS felt that pressure. They needed something big, something prestigious.
Something glossy.
Glossy, yeah. Something that felt like their successful primetime lineup. So, summer of 81, they go to John Conboy.
The producer of The Young and the Restless.
Which
was already becoming a powerhouse for them.
Exactly. They tasked him with creating this new competitor, and interestingly, they shifted production geography. Capitol was the first soap made out in Los Angeles since Y&R itself debuted back in '73.
So that West Coast move probably helped give it that slicker, almost cinematic look they wanted.
I think so. It definitely aimed for that high-polished primetime vibe.
And the launch itself, they really signaled that ambition. It debuted daytime on Monday, March 29th, 1982. But they did something special before that.
They did. A few days earlier, Friday night, March 26th, they aired a special 1-hour pilot episode.
Friday night, prime time.
Prime time. And get this, right after an episode of Dallas.
Wow. Okay, that's not subtle.
Not at all. It was a massive statement. They were saying, this is for the Dallas audience. We're talking wealth, power, secrets, glamour.
That's huge visibility for a launch.
Yeah.
But then came the daytime reality, the scheduling wars. That 2:30 p.m. Eastern slot, that was a tough neighborhood.
Brutal. And the way Capitol got that slot is key. It replaced Search for Tomorrow.
Which was a daytime institution.
Yeah.
Longest running soap at the time, owned by Procter & Gamble, P&G.
And P&G were not just sponsors, they were giants, producers in their own right. They were absolutely furious when CBS moved Search to 2.30 to make room for an expanded Y&R.
So when P&G's contract was up,
They declared war, basically. Refused to stay on CBS. They sold Search for Tomorrow to NBC.
no way.
Yes, and it launched on NBC the exact same day Capitol launched on CBS. A direct shot.
That's incredible. Corporate sabotage in the soap world. So Capitol debuts against not just established hits, but also its predecessor trying to kneecap it on another network.
Exactly. It was immediately up against the last half of NBC's Another World and ABC's Powerhouse, One Life to Live. Just a killer lineup to face.
What a start. Baptism by Fire doesn't even cover it. How did it even do initially?
Respectably, considering it debuted around 8th place, which was roughly where Search for Tomorrow had been in that slot.
Okay, so it held its ground.
It did, and it stayed pretty solidly mid-pack, 7th to 9th place for its whole 5-year run. It wasn't a flop, ratings-wise, initially.
Did it ever have a big peak?
It did. The 1983-84 season, it hit a 6.4 rating, and that number 6.4 becomes really interesting later when we talk about its replacement.
Okay, keep that number in mind. So let's get into the show itself. The families, Jeffersonia, we had the Dennings, the Cleggs, and the McCandlesses.
Those were the core three, and the absolute engine driving the plot was the rivalry between the two main matriarchs.
This sounds like classic soap territory, but with that DC twist.
Exactly. On one side, Clarissa Tyler McCandless, played wonderfully by Constance Towers. She's the widow of the powerful Baxter McCandless, well-connected, generally seen as, the good one.
And on the other side,
Myrna Clegg. Initially Carolyn Jones, later, and most memorably, Marge Doucet. Myrna was sharp-tongued, ruthless, married to the rich industrialist Sam Clegg.
okay, so classic good versus evil matriarchs.
Well, it started there, but the origin of their feud is where the political angle gets really interesting. They were apparently best friends way back when, until they both fell for Baxter McCandless.
The classic romantic rivalry.
But Myrna's revenge for losing Baxter wasn't just personal, it was political and devastatingly effective. This was the show's original sin.
What did she do?
She targeted Clarissa's father, Congressman Judson Tyler, played by Rory Calhoun. He was a liberal congressman. Myrna spread lies, fabricated connections to communists during the McCarthy era.
Wow. Weaponizing the Red Scare for personal revenge?
Exactly. Destroyed his reputation, his career.
Right.
All because Baxter chose Clarissa.
So that political poison is right there at the foundation of everything. Every later conflict, every business deal, every romance, it all stems back to this original DC-style takedown.
Precisely. It makes the stakes inherently high, which is why the first big story arc made perfect sense, the Romeo and Juliet plot.
Between the kids, right? Clarissa's son and Myrna's daughter.
Exactly. Clarissa's son was Tyler McCandless, a war hero. He falls for Myrna's daughter, Julie Clegg. And Myrna, fueled by that decades-old hate, tried everything to break them up.
Did they manage to get together?
They did eventually. They married. But, it's
Naturally, I think
interesting
so.
how quickly the show seemed to pivot away from them as the central couple. Tyler was the war hero, the initial romantic lead, but the focus shifted pretty hard.
Shifted to who?
To Myrna's son, Trey Clegg, and his relationship with Sloan Denning.
Sloan Denning, daughter of Senator Mark Denning.
That's the one. Trey was this ambitious young congressman. Unlike Tyler, who was more of a traditional hero type, Trey was power-hungry. Groomed for the presidency, capable of being ruthless, saw Tyler as a rival.
Ah, okay. So shifting to Trey instantly ups the political ante. He's in the game.
Right. The show is called Capital. Trey represented that next generation of DC power players. Makes sense they'd focus on him.
And he and Sloan became the show's central power couple.
Very much so. They even filmed their wedding in 1984 on location at the actual Jefferson Memorial, again heading that note of DC glamour and access.
That's a big production move. But soap marriages, rarely simple.
Never simple. Trey had baggage, a previous long-term relationship with Kelly Harper.
And Kelly Harper. Wasn't she a former prostitute?
She was, and crucially, she and Trey had a son together, Scotty. Trey kept this secret, and that hidden paternity was the ticking time bomb that eventually blew up his marriage to Sloan. They divorced over it.
And Jess Walton played Kelly Harper, right? She got a lot of praise for that role.
She did, especially when Sloan found out and, didn't just crumble. The sources say Sloan reverted to her old scheming nature to try and save her marriage.
Which is great soap. It shows the good family, the Dennings, could be just as cutthroat when threatened. Blurs the line.
Exactly. Those morally gray areas are where soaps thrive. And speaking of strong characters, we have to talk about Myrna Clegg's recasting. It was pretty significant.
Right. Carolyn Jones started the role, but she had to leave because of illness.
Yeah, sadly. Marla Adams stepped in for a short time. But then, in April 1983, Marge Doucet took over.
And she became the definitive Myrna, didn't she?
Absolutely. People credit Doucet with really deepening the character, making her more than just, mean. She became multidimensional, calculating, strategic. And Doucet stayed for the rest of the run. It gave the show that crucial, stable villainess.
Which you need, especially with the kind of veteran actors they had in supporting roles. It wasn't just unknowns.
No, the cast pedigree was serious. Richard Egan, Rory Calhoun, Constance Towers, Julie Adams. These were established names. It felt like they were really trying to signal quality, elevate the genre.
Trying to mix that gravitas with maybe some buzzier casting, too?
Definitely. They dipped into stunt casting. Tammy Wynette showed up for a bit.
Country singer. As who?
as Darlene Stankowski, a hairstylist who became a singer. Classic soap arc.
Okay. And wasn't Natalie Wood's sister involved somehow?
Lana Wood, yeah. She was cast as Amy Burke. It was a short-lived storyline, maybe 6 months or so, revealing she was Sam Clegg's illegitimate daughter. Another plot that kind of fizzled out.
Shows how they were throwing things at the wall, maybe. But it also highlights they were willing to bring in names. And they had future stars, too, didn't they?
Yeah, looking back, you see people like Kelly Preston and Terry Hatcher early in their careers.
Interesting mix. Before we move on, you mentioned something about representation.
Right, it's worth noting, the show did feature a major character with a disability, which was pretty significant for daytime in the 80s.
Who was that?
Dr. Thomas McCandless, Clarissa's other son. He was a successful surgeon, but he walked with crutches.
So a prominent professional role, not just defined by the disability.
Exactly. And he was involved in major storylines, romantic triangles, first with a character named Elizabeth Bachman, and later with Kelly Harper, actually, after her split from Trey.
Yeah.
It added a layer of realism amidst the melodrama.
Okay, so we have the families, the core feud rooted in DC history, the power couple, the recastings. Now, let's get into how things started to maybe escalate. Deepen the intrigue, as the outline says, but also maybe get weirder.
Yeah, the subplots definitely didn't stay simple, especially with the older generation. They weren't just sitting around sipping tea.
No, what were Clarissa and Senator Denning up to?
Well, they were dealing with the senator's wife, Paula, played by Julie Adams, and Paula was unhinged.
How so?
She faked agoraphobia, pretended she couldn't leave the house, all while secretly plotting to murder Clarissa.
Faked agoraphobia to plot a murder. That's elaborate, pure soap villainy.
Oh, yeah. Kept the audience hooked on that kind of classic, over-the-top deceit. But then there was the other big secret, the one that really tests your suspension of disbelief.
Uh-oh. What was that?
Remember Clarissa's supposedly dead husband, Baxter McCandless?
Yeah, the one she and Myrna fought over.
Well, turns out, maybe not so dead. Years later, Clarissa gets involved with this mysterious new man, Jared Morgan, who's in a wheelchair.
Let me guess.
You got it. Eventually revealed to be Baxter himself, living under an assumed identity all those years.
The classic, back from the dead husband. Always a winner. But adding the wheelchair and assumed identity, that's layers.
It's a huge twist. But even that needed something more, maybe an external threat, to really propel things forward. And that's when Zed Diamond arrived.
Zed Diamond. Okay, this name rings a bell. He brought a different kind of energy, didn't he?
Totally different. Played by Bradley Lockerman, arrived in '83. He's rich, handsome, mysterious, owns Mario's, the fancy restaurant where all the power players hang out, also owns a local TV station.
So established, but an outsider.
Exactly. Polite on the surface, but the characterization was clear, deadly when provoked, operated outside the usual DC rules.
And what was his angle? What drove him? Was it politics? Money?
Not initially, it was revenge. Pure, class-based revenge. He hated Trey Clegg, saw him as a spineless rich kid, but his real target was Sam and Myrna Clegg.
Why them specifically? What did they do?
It went back years. His late mother had been a maid in the Clegg mansion. They accused her of stealing mention, falsely, fired her, ruined her reputation. She couldn't get work, and it led to her death.
Wow, so Zed wasn't there to join the power game. He was there to burn it down, starting with the Cleggs.
Pretty much. Avenge his mother, which sets up the romantic angle perfectly.
With Sloane.
With Sloane. She finds out about Trey's secret history with Kelly Harper, feels totally betrayed.
And sleeps with Zed for revenge.
Exactly. Zed gets under the Clegg's skin by damaging their precious son's marriage. It's personal and strategic.
Okay, so Zed's making waves. But then his story got even more complicated, right? Something about his past. A wife.
Yes, his past involved a crime family, and specifically the boss's daughter, Jenny, who was Zed's late wife, or supposedly late wife.
And this connects to the recasting of Julie Clegg.
It does. Catherine Hickland took over as Julie, and people immediately noticed she looked a lot like Zed's supposedly dead wife, Jenny.
Which, in Soapland, is never a coincidence.
Never. Turns out, Jenny wasn't dead. She was alive, but dealing with severe psychological issues.
So Hickland got to play both roles. Julie and Jenny.
Yep. The sweet, innocent Julie and this dangerous, unstable Jenny. A huge, dramatic storyline for her in the show.
That was juicy. But playing two major roles, did that come at the expense of one of the characters? Did Julie get sidelined?
It seems like it. As the Zed Jenny story heated up, Julie's character faded. They wrote her out, essentially, had her leave town because Tyler, her husband, was revealed to be having an off-screen affair.
So they ditched the original Romeo and Juliet foundation.
It's like it. Prioritized the high-drama, high-concept Jenny story over the established couple. Jenny was exciting, sure, but it meant letting go of that initial premise.
So by around 1985, it feels like the show is actively choosing these bigger, maybe more outlandish twists over the core DC political stuff. Which brings us to the slide.
Yeah. This is where things start to go, let's say, international, and maybe a bit off the rails. Section 4, chaos and cancellation.
They were chasing trends, weren't they?
Yeah.
The mid-'80s saw that rise of adventure storylines in soaps. General Hospital was doing it big time.
Absolutely. And Capitol jumped on that bandwagon. They paired Sloan Denning, remember, the senator's daughter, the reporter, with Prince Ali.
Prince Ali.
Played by Peter Lochran, potential king of Barack.
Right.
A fictional Islamic nation constantly in political turmoil. Suddenly, Sloan is involved in international intrigue, royal succession plots.
Wait, so we go from, like, budget fights and backroom deals in D.C. to coups in a fictional kingdom.
Pretty much. A huge chunk of the action literally moved overseas.
How did that go over? With critics? With viewers?
Critics were mixed, but sometimes positive. Soap Opera Digest actually loved the Sloan and Ali romance, called their scenes the best love scenes of 1986.
Really? Okay. But the audience?
The audience started to drift. The core promise was DC politics, right? That got lost when Sloan was dodging assassins in Barack instead of digging up dirt on Capitol Hill.
And the ratings reflected that drift.
Big time. The sources point to the 1985-86 season as having a rather steep fall. From a 5.8 rating down to a 5.1, viewers were getting alienated. The twists were shocking, maybe, but they were breaking the show's own rules.
And some of those twists,
Yeah.
they sound like they fundamentally undermined everything that came before, like the paternity bombshell.
Oh, yeah. Scotty Harper, the kid whose existence blew up Trey and Sloane's marriage. Turns out, Trey wasn't the father.
Who was?
Sam Clegg. Trey's own father.
Well, that completely changes the entire Clegg dynamic. It undoes the whole original triangle. Why? Just for shock value.
Feels like it. A twist for the sake of a twist. Maybe losing the emotional logic. But the next one. This might have been the point of no return for the DC premise.
What happened?
Senator Mark Denning, Sloane's father, pillar of the community, respected statesman,
Yeah.
exposed as a traitor to the United States.
A senator, a traitor, that's extreme. Even for a soap.
So extreme that the actor, Ed Nelson, a real veteran who brought that sense of gravitas, he quit mid-storyline, said he was disgusted.
Wow. If your actor walks off because the plot is too absurd, that's a bad sign.
He was supposed to be the anchor of the political realism.
Exactly. And they turned him into this cartoon villain. It just shredded the show's original identity.
And then there was another twist involving the McCandless family, tying them into the international stuff.
Oh, yeah. Remember Clarissa Ann Baxter's son, Matt?
Vaguely.
Turns out he wasn't really their biological son. He was actually Prince Ali's long-lost brother.
Stop. Seriously.
Seriously. Adopted by Baxter years ago to save him from being unalived back in Barack. So the McCandless family, rooted in that DC history, suddenly has direct ties to the fictional kingdom's royal lineage.
Yeah. Completely severed their original context, tied them permanently to the adventure plot. It's the kind of thing that just makes longtime viewers scratch their heads. Wait, what show am I watching again?
No wonder CBS started losing faith. By summer '86, with ratings dropping and storylines going this wild.
They were actively looking for replacements, put out the call for new show proposals.
And by December '86, the axe fell.
Yep. Cancellation announced. Final episode set for March 20th, 1987. And they already had the successor lined up.
Bill and Lee Philip Bell, the Young and the Restless creators.
With their brand new show, The Bold and the Beautiful, designed as a sister show to Y&R.
And B&B premiered just 3 days after Capitol ended, right? Monday, March 23rd. Took over that same 2.30 slot.
Exactly. And it was an immediate hit. Became the #2 soap in America, and it's still in that time slot today.
Wow. Talk about a successful transition. It really highlights how Capitol, despite its ambition, just couldn't hold that ground. Which leads us to the end, the finale.
Yeah, the final section. And because the cancellation came relatively quickly, the ending felt rushed. Frantic, even.
How so?
Well, they had to accelerate production massively. They taped the last 2 months' worth of episodes in just 1 month.
That's insane pressure. Must have impacted the storytelling.
You'd think so. And yet, Even in that final frantic month, they were still introducing huge new plot points.
Like what?
They brought in Giannis Page, a real stage veteran, cast her as Lorene Clegg,
Who's Lorraine Clegg?
Sam Clegg's first wife,
Mm-hmm.
and Trey's real mother.
Wait, Trey's mother wasn't Myrna?
Nope. And Lorene shows up posing as Scotty's nanny.
That's a massive storyline. The secret mother infiltrating the family, introduced weeks before the show ends.
Exactly. Full of potential, but zero time to explore it. Shows they were still thinking big, aiming for drama, right up until the lights went out. James Lipton was the head writer then, still swinging for the fences.
So how did it actually end, with all these loose threads?
They went for cliffhangers. Big ones. A double cliffhanger, really. One domestic, one international.
Okay, give us the domestic drama first, centered on the Cleggs.
Oh, yeah. Sam Clegg was having an affair with the younger woman, Kate Wells. He tries to break it off, but Kate finds out the big secret.
About Scotty's paternity. That Sam was the father, not Trey.
Bingo. And she uses it to blackmail Sam, her demand, divorce Myrna.
Oh boy. How did Myrna react when Sam asked for a divorce?
Predictably, she vowed war. Absolute, total war. So the show ends with Myrna, the original schemer, poised to unleash hell on her husband and his blackmailer. High drama, zero resolution.
Okay, classic soap cliffhanger. What about the international one? With Sloane.
This one really shows how far the show traveled. Sloane had married Prince Ali, remember?
Right, but Ali was presumed dead, so Sloane became Queen of Barak.
Queen of Barak, exactly. But ruling wasn't easy. Enemies everywhere. The very final scene of the entire series. Sloane, Queen of Barak, trying to hide from Ali's enemies, is standing in front of a firing squad. Fade to black.
A firing squad, that's how it ends.
That's how it ends. The DC political soap concludes with its heroine potentially being executed in a fictional country. Talk about an abrupt, unresolved, high-stakes ending. Zero closure.
Wow, just wow. So what's the takeaway then? What's the legacy of Capital? It failed, obviously, but did anything lasting come out of it?
Well, here's the irony. The show itself didn't last, but it turned out to be an incredible launching pad for actors who went on to define villainy on other soaps for years.
Really? Like who?
Catherine Hickland, Constance Towers, Marge Doucet, they all landed prominent roles, often as schemers, on ABC soaps pretty quickly after Capital ended, dominated that network's villainous landscape.
And Jess Walden. Kelly Harper.
Jess Walton landed arguably the biggest post-Capital role. She took over as Jill Foster Abbott on The Young and the Restless, a huge legacy character she's played for decades, became soap royalty herself.
So Capital's legacy is basically training the next generation of soap opera supervillains.
Kind of, yeah. A failed show that incubated successful careers. But there's that one last nagging point, that statistical thing we mentioned earlier.
The ratings peak.
Exactly. Capital peaked at a 6.4 rating in 83-84. The Bold and the Beautiful took over the slot, became a huge success, #2 soap.
What?
But B&B has apparently never actually surpassed that 6.4 peak rating Capital achieved.
Wait, really? The super successful replacement never hit the peak number the failed show did.
That's the data point, which makes you wonder, was the problem really Capital's content? I mean, yeah, the traitor senator and the firing squad were probably jumping the shark.
But maybe that DC political angle, when it was working, had a higher ceiling than people thought. Maybe the issue wasn't just the content, but that killer 2.30 p.m. time slot.
It raises the question, doesn't it? Was it fundamentally unwinnable against One Life to Live and Another World in their prime? Maybe Capital's peak showed the potential was there, but the competitive environment combined with the later creative decisions just burned it out.
So a show that started with this unique DC focus, got lost chasing adventure trends, and ended on maybe the most bizarre cliffhanger imaginable.
A casualty of the times, maybe. Tried to out-glamour primetime, but lost its way in the daytime trenches.
Which leaves us with that final thought for you, the listener. Given the brutal competition of that 2.3 C slot, and the fact the B&B, for all its success, never beat Capital's highest rating, what really doomed Capital? Was it the crazy storylines, the firing squad ending? Or was it just impossible to survive in that time slot, no matter what they did?
Something to think about. We'd love to hear what you think.
Absolutely. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of Capital, please hit that like button, subscribe for more classic TV history and analysis, and definitely leave a comment below. Let us know your thoughts on Capital or tell us what classic soap opera or TV show we should tackle next.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.